Good afternoon. The US midterm elections have happened. The voting stopped quite a long time ago, and a number of results have come in. And people were expecting and predicting before these elections a red wave, which would have been really good for the United States and really good for the world as well. Because look, the president of the United States is just decrepit and almost incapacitated, and is doing just about everything that he possibly can to ruin the United States and ruin the rest of the world as well, with opposition to fossil fuel energy, cheap, reliable energy, and prolonging, sustaining a conflict in Ukraine and trying to escalate that in every way possible. So this is just a disaster to have a president of the United States like that. But obviously, with the midterm elections, you've had lots of commentary on this before, so I'm sure you know how it all works. You know, you've got all the seats up in the House, 435 seats, and you've got a third of the seats in the Senate. So hopefully they would have changed hands, and instead of having a Democrat president, a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate, you'd have a Democrat president for the next 2 years, but then hopefully with a Republican House and a Republican Senate, they would be able to stop him from doing the worst progressive, as they say, excesses into what he's doing in his program. But it hasn't really worked out that well for a couple of reasons. And commentary, I've been looking at commentaries, I've been looking at comments to see what's going on. But the most disturbing thing that I can see is that there seems to be somewhat of a repeat of what happened in 2020, where voting went on for a few hours and then it seemed to stop. And after 7 or 8 hours, the results that were going to come in, that were kind of dead certs, had come in. But then the battleground states, the states where there was thought to be a Republican going to win, seems to have stopped counting, or the results have just not coming in. They've just stopped flowing in. I mean, really, you'd think that as time goes on, people would get better at and more efficient at counting the results from ballots, not worse. But it seems to be getting worse in the United States. So obviously, I'm in the UK, and you know it would just be almost inconceivable for a ballot count to go on more than 12 hours after the end of the election is finished. Most of them come in within 6 or 7 hours, and then you know the result of the overall result by the end of that time. It doesn't drag on for days and days and days. It just seems like the US, the United States, is now becoming a country where elections used to take a day to count, or less than a day to count, but now it's just become a matter of routine that they go on and on and on, and there's all this vote stopping and all other shenanigans going on, which builds on the reports we heard on the day in a key voting district in Arizona, where there were lots and lots of problems with voting machines. There shouldn't be voting machines, goodness me. I mean, isn't that obvious? You know, machines just make elections ripe for fraud, because you just don't know what is going to happen to your vote. You press it on a key, it goes into some computer memory. Who knows what's going to happen to that once it's in a computer memory somewhere, you know, who knows where. You really got to do your voting on paper, with paper and pen, so that you can monitor the ballot papers, see where they go, count them all, and be more certain that the votes that you actually physically marked on the paper are going to be what actually turns up in the results themselves. So this seems to be going on, and it's a little bit worrying there. Now it looks like the Republicans are going to win the House, thank goodness for that, but not with a massive wave, more like a red ripple. Okay, well, at least that's something. But the Senate seems to be probably going to be tied 50-50 again. At the time I'm making this video, there's 4 key battleground states still to declare: Arizona, Wisconsin, what's the others? Georgia, and Nevada are still to declare. So I hope it works out the way that is hoped. We shall see. But whatever happens, I do wonder if this is perhaps, even though there's disappointment among conservatives, you know, real conservatives, not fake conservatives or rhinos, as they called in the United States, Republicans in name only. There's disappointment amongst us that maybe things hadn't gone the way they should have gone this time. But I wonder if this actually, in the long term, could be the best possible thing for the United States, because you might get DeSantis standing. He might come out as the front runner, as a real conservative, and you can see what he's done for his state in Florida, standing up for freedom, freedom to move, for your fundamental freedoms, as well as freedom to trade and do business and all these other things, and standing up for traditional family values as well, standing against this tide of wokery, which is kind of coming down on the West like, you know, some horrible, disgusting wave that we want to get rid of. We don't want that wave. We want a wave of something, you know, fresh and wholesome again, to sweep away all of this junk, and I'm being polite in calling it that, that's come on the Western world. These kind of things going into schools, exposing children to all kinds of things that they shouldn't be exposed to. You know what I'm talking about. And if I were, you know, in a private venue, I'd probably be far more explicit than that in what is going on in schools and so on. You know what's happening and what these people are doing to children, not just here in the UK, the US, all over around the world as well. Ron DeSantis in Florida stood up against that. You know, good for him. And we need leaders like that who are going to stand on their principles as to what is right and what is wholesome, and stand against this tide of filth that is coming around the Western world. We need to restore our civilization to what it should be, and make it good, make it wholesome again. So this is a disappointment at the moment with the midterms. Yeah, there's a few gains for the Republicans. Interestingly as well, another very interesting result was what happened in Pennsylvania. And the Republican candidate was someone called Mehmet Oz. I think that was for the Senate. I didn't win. This Fetterman guy won for the Democrats, who seemed to be, you know, not really up to the job, to be polite, but he won. The thing is, this Mehmet Oz, there was a lot of controversy around when he got the Republican nomination. He was backed by Trump. He wasn't a real conservative, you know. He's a rhino. He's a fake conservative. You know, he supports all kinds of liberal positions, and he lost. So there's a message there. If you want to stand for a party that says they're conservative, and you know, the Republican Party is no way perfect at all. You know, I look at the individual people and candidates. If you want to be a real conservative, standing for traditional, patriotic, conservative values, you know, you need to back and be a candidate that's going to stand for those things, not a fake conservative who's going to take liberal positions. So he was there, and I wonder if, you know, the real conservatives in Pennsylvania just weren't inspired by him and just didn't bother to go out and vote, and therefore, you know, they didn't vote in as big enough numbers to get him over the line. And so the Democrat, you know, voters in the big cities there, you know what the big cities are, Pittsburgh and so on. You know, they voted him in. They voted the Democrat in. They voted the liberal, lefty, progressive in, rather than the rhino. But you need a proper America First conservative to stand everywhere, Don't go for these rhinos. Don't go for these fake conservatives. The situation's even worse in the UK because you've got a Conservative Party, which is almost all fake conservatives. So, here in the UK, I'm trying to build a new party. Well, I am, the Heritage Party. And there's loads and loads of great people who've joined in as well. And we're building the Heritage Party to be a party that stands for real traditional values, to restore our nation, restore the place of families in our nation, restore financial responsibility, and to protect our children from all the horrible guff that is coming at them from the liberal left. So this could be, in the long term, a very good thing for America if the right sees that they need to make sure you have real conservatives standing, not fake conservatives, and you get this election fraud business sorted out. Got to fight that. Got to get back to having paper ballots and counting the votes on the night. Really need to fight this all over the world. Okay, those are just my thoughts on the midterm elections. I'm still processing what's coming in, and I'm sure lots of you are as well. But anyway, semi-good news, isn't it? But it's not what we hoped. But let's carry on. Let's fight the good fight, and we're going to win in the end. Okay, God bless you all.